It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
For sure contributing to winning basketball. But, I mean, at this point, I'm not even necessarily, it's not even about, people saying chasing a championship. It's not that. But it's playing the right style of basketball is what I'm chasing.
Paul George on what he's looking for in free agency. The Fresno kid, Steve Cleveland knows him well because of his ties to the Fresno area. Coached him at Fresno State. I don't know if that makes him the Fresno kid, but I just like to say Fresno kid. Does he stay with the Clippers? Does he go to a team that plays good basketball that is chasing a championship, even if he's not, and we're splitting hairs here? What will Paul George do? That's an interesting question, and it is now less than 2 weeks away. Which means at this point, I think Paul George already has a pretty good idea what he's going to do. Not that you can't change your mind, but we know we've got local examples. These things get discussed before July 1st. They're done. If he doesn't know, he's got a pretty good idea. Indiana Pacers forward Pascal Siakam knows exactly what he's going to do. He's going to put his John Hancock on a 4-year offer worth $189.5 million. Wow. Now, I know those numbers blow you away, but you have to savor the era where those numbers blow you away, because there was an era where people couldn't believe it got to $100 million, and now this is almost $200 million, and it didn't blow you away. But the NBA is about to sign a new contract that will triple their national TV revenues from $2.5 billion to $7.5 billion, unless they put together a fourth package for TNT that drives it to $8.5 billion, which, if I were them, is absolutely what I would do in an era when local broadcasts are worth less all the time because the sports regionals are literally going away. I have Comcast. If I go to 693 where I used to watch Jazz games, there is nothing. Darkness. And for the leagues, that means, well, all they care about is money, so I guess that means outer darkness for them. No, there's no money for eternity. Go to the national deals. Do it. Take the extra $1 billion. What have you got to lose? $1 billion. And what's that going to do to salaries? We're going to start seeing $500 million deals all the time, and people making $100 million a year. People who do not come close to the NBA Finals. Siakam right now, big money. He's got to sign it. It's life-changing money. But in another 2 years, that might be peanuts. That might be role player money. The Detroit Pistons fired head coach Monty Williams. 1 year. He got 1 year. He signed a 6-year, $78 million deal. They owe him $65 million. Enough about the overpaid players. Owners are lighting money on fire in the middle of the street in broad daylight with cameras rolling. $65 million. I saw that. Immediately. Wait a minute. I got to read that again. It's all guaranteed. Didn't they just hire him? Yes.
It was a record-breaking deal when he signed it.
1 year, which makes it a record-breaking buyout. College football coaches are thinking, well, he's walking away with a lot of money. And they walk away with a lot of money all the time.
Jimbo Fisher, they're like, hey, that's small fish, okay?
Jimbo Fisher's like, Monty, let's go to dinner.
I got 70. So.
Somewhere expensive, on the water. Let's have it catered. It is surf and turf time. Let's go. Now, historically, and really for most of my life, because when I was a little kid, I was in, I don't know what grade I was in, but I was definitely in elementary school. And Frank Robinson got hired as the first African-American manager. And I, of course, didn't get the big deal. And my dad, who'd grown up with that era, right, was like, wow. Now how are they going to fire him? And I'm like, well, they'll just fire him, Dad. They fire managers all the time. They'll hire another guy. Like, And he was totally aware of how quickly managers got turned around and how that would look and what all the fallout would be and what all the he was absolutely dialed into that. And now that has stayed a storyline. I think he managed for like 3 or 4 years. And he's a playing legend, right? I mean, MVP in both leagues, Hall of Fame career, World Series, the whole bit. And they did. They fired him after, I think he managed 3 years, but I have to look it up. And now it's been a story, and I was just reading it again in the last month or two. African-American coaches get less time to succeed than white coaches, and they've got all the stats to bear it out, and they're less likely to get another job. Except Monty Williams has now gotten another job and was just fired by an African-American GM. Now, the owner is a white guy, so there's still racial overtones, but at the same time, this is just like a different story. We're starting to turn the page here. And it's a record-setting buyout, which maybe, it's blowing my mind. But these guys, I think I looked it up. The guy's name is Gores, I think. Tom Gores.
Tom Gores, yeah.
Yeah, Tom Gores, and he's worth, one place said he's worth $6 billion, and one place said he was worth $9 billion. And he's very aware of what the next network TV contract is going to be, so maybe he just doesn't care. And he wants his guy, and Trajan wants his guy. So, there you go. Rich Paul, CEO of Clutch Sports, says the plan to have Bronny James work out for just the Lakers and Suns has been by design amidst reports of up to a half dozen teams saying that they have had issues in attempting to secure a pre-draft workout with James. By issues, I mean they can't get one. To which Rich Paul says, I know, we don't want you to draft him. We want the Lakers to draft him, and he's working out for the Suns, so we have leverage. Hey, the Suns will take him, and LeBron will leave. This is just straight power politics, and the roadmap is not hidden. And Rich Paul wants you to know, by the way, I'm the master planner. I have leveraged all of this. And Jazz fans just look at it and say, okay, just make sure you're bad in 2027, Lakers. Don't really care about anything else. Just make sure you're awful. Stack up the L's. You can hold on to LeBron next year, the year after.
And then you can have Bronny take over after that.
But just be a 20-win team. If that's because LeBron left for Phoenix, fine. If that's because he retired, fine. If that's because he's hurt, well, don't wish injury on anybody. But if you're playing in the NBA in the 40s and your body breaks down, it wouldn't be surprising. So whatever the path is, just make sure you're 20-62, okay? Thank you. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
So after the Super Bowl, I lost almost 30 pounds because I couldn't lift I couldn't do any upper body because of my shoulder, my rib, and I couldn't do lower because of my core surgery, and then I got surgery. So I didn't lift from the Super Bowl until almost mid-March. I went a month without doing anything.
49ers tight end George Kittle said he lost 30 pounds after off-season surgery. Is George Kittle at the end? When we were talking surgery, I was just talking about it with LeBron. If an NFL player starts pushing 30 and breaks down, is Kittle turned 30 yet?
He's 30 now.
He's 30 on the button right now, yeah. And so a tight end who's been hit a million times because he gets hit when he runs pass patterns and he gets hit when he blocks on rushing plays, McCaffrey's running, well, Kittle's hitting somebody. Debo's running, Kittle's hitting somebody. Are we near the end there? And if they are, do they need to move on to Kittle from someone less expensive so they can sign Brandon Ayuk? Because if you lose Kittle and Ayuk, the magic of the Niners has been they can beat you with a bunch of guys. There's a bunch of guys who can get to the end zone and look really good doing it. And Debo's on the list and McCaffrey's on the list, but they have 4 options, and you can double somebody, but that means 3 very talented skill players are going one-on-one. But if you look at Kittle, he's not Purdy's favorite. Now, is that because he's slipping, or is that because, everybody can't have the ball all the time and be piling up great numbers? Is it just a choice, or is it the new reality? Niners have been in the NFC title game 4 times in 5 years. They're an elite team, but they haven't broken through and won it all. Is the window closing? It's a heck of a story, but it does paint a picture for the future of the Niners as well. Doesn't feel to me like they're done yet. But they're not that far away. There are other teams on the rise. Looking at you, Lions. Looking at you, Packers. And it's the NFL, so you never know who could break out. The Eagles are there. I wouldn't worry about the Cowboys.
Well, then you just got the Chiefs sitting on top right there, so good luck.
Speaking of the Chiefs, the state of Kansas approved a bill that would attempt to lure the Chiefs and the Royals away from Missouri. Bipartisan legislative supermajorities okayed the measure to authorize state bonds to help finance new stadiums and practice facilities for both teams on the Kansas side of the metropolitan area of 2.3 million residents, which is split by the border with Missouri. There's a river and there's a bridge. Having been to Kansas City, when you're downtown, you drive one way for 20 minutes or so, and you're at the baseball and football complex. You drive 20 minutes the other way into Kansas. First off, there's a whole lot less people when you cross the border. But at the same time, it's 20 minutes away, and there's the NASCAR track and the soccer stadium, which is why I was there. For all the teams who have moved, Rams, Chargers, Raiders lately, but before that, Oilers, Browns, Colts, on and on, this is the least painful thing. This is from one suburb to another. This is the Cowboys moving from the Cotton Bowl on the State Fairgrounds to Irving to Arlington. Yeah, it's a slightly different commute, but they're in the same place. The Chiefs' Super Bowl rings have a mistake on them, listing the opponents they beat on their way to the title. The Dolphins were the 7th seed. They're listed as the 6th seed. Travis Kelce says he has no plans to get the error fixed. He thinks the gaffe makes the ring more exclusive. Of course, Kelce's brother Jason was pointing it out in the podcast and giving him a hard time because that's what brothers are for. But there is that history. Collector's items have a mistake in them. Except if all the items have the mistake in them, I don't know if that makes them more valuable. I wouldn't worry about it, and it doesn't sound like Travis is worrying about it. What really matters is the memory of that feeling when the confetti's raining down and you realize you've done it. Falcons are adding team owner Arthur Blank and former quarterback Matt Ryan to their Ring of Honor. Blank purchased the team in 2002. Ryan spent 14 years with the franchise. Kind of in Stockton and Malone territory, right? Also, I mean, 14 years is a long run. They went to a Super Bowl, but they didn't win it. They lost to the Patriots and Brady, which is like, 23. They lost to Brady, which is like losing to Jordan. I feel the parallels. They just didn't do it twice, but, the NFL's a different deal than the NBA, too. Cleveland Browns GM Andrew Berry says starting quarterback Deshaun Watson is ahead of schedule in his rehab from a season-ending shoulder injury he suffered last November. Watson's been throwing every other day in the offseason workout periods. Berry said Watson is ready to have the governor take on off. Schwarzenegger's going on vacation. That's all I hear when I hear the governor's taking off. Go, Chargers, go. That's a tough division. Cincinnati, really good. Well, if the quarterback's healthy, if Burrow can play. Baltimore's really good. Pittsburgh's decent, and with better quarterback play, they're a double-digit win team. Can Cleveland keep up? All that guaranteed money? My guess is no. No, they won't. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Swung on, hit a ton. Deep right center field. Robles back, track, wall, gone! He's gone deep again! Josh Naylor with a solo blast to right center.
The 2-0. That's a line drive into right field. The base hit on the ball. Is Burleson? He bobbles it. Anderson scores. The ball game is over. The Cardinals blow it again. The Marlins with their 7th walk-off win of the season. This time the hero is Otto Lopez.
In the air to center field. This is going to be deep enough, I think. Pajes makes the catch. Cave tags. Coming to the plate. Ball game. Brenton Doyle with his second sacrifice fly of the night. The Rockies walk it off.
The Rockies beat the Dodgers 7-6. Brenton Doyle sac fly walking it off. The Dodgers lose the game, but they got some good news. Clayton Kershaw rehabbing the minors, pitching in single A ball because Kershaw isn't flying to Oklahoma City. This is why AAA teams need to be in the backyard.
This team right up the road. That's...
I'll drive over there and pitch to the Class A kids. We'll see if I have the good stuff or not. Not flying to Oklahoma City.
I'm not taking a flight to Oklahoma City. I'm not going to. Where's the Rocket City Trash Pandas playing? They're playing like in Alabama or something like that. I'm not going there.
I know, yeah, right. This is why AAA teams are often in the backyard of the Major League team. And this is why one day, when expansion finally happens, assuming which we all assume, I definitely assume, that Utah gets a team, I would not be as afraid. I would not be surprised to see the Bees switch their affiliation from the Angels to the new club. Outlaws. To the Utah Baseball Club. Wouldn't be surprised to see it at all, because the Kershaws of the world want to drive down the street. And also, let's be honest, the front office wants to drive down the street to do the scouting. They don't want to fly to Oklahoma City to see AAA ball either.
They want to have a legitimate taxi squad that's actually able to take a taxi.
Exactly. Exactly. Taxi is such an old school reference. The taxi squad. It's now the practice. Yeah, I know. But back in the day, it was literally called the taxi squad when I was a kid. It was not called the taxi squad when you were a kid. You just picked that up from your dad, didn't you?
Yeah, that and just reading old stories.
Yeah. He's on the taxi squad. Padres snapped their losing streak. They were getting annihilated. They beat the Phillies 5-2. The Orioles beat the Yankees. Garrett Cole made his debut on the mound for New York in the loss, so they get Cole back. And they didn't have Judge. He sat that one out. But Stanton went deep with a 3-run homer in the 7th and had the drove in the tying run with a single in the 9th, and then it didn't matter. They lost in the 10th anyway. Stanton's pretty good. He totally gets overshadowed by Judge, but, man, he was holding up his end of the bargain yesterday with Judge out. It just wasn't enough. And the baseball story, Willie Mays passes away at the age of 93. He was the oldest living Hall of Famer. Started his illustrious career in 1948 in the Negro Leagues. Played in Major League Baseball from 1951 to 1973. And, although I didn't know this, Dave Arslanian, the former Weber State football coach, was texting with me yesterday. And he said he thinks it was late 50s, maybe early 60s. The Giants and the Reds played an exhibition game in Utah. And his memory's a little fuzzy. He would have been pretty young, so I get that. But he thinks Rose, Bench, Mays, and he says, isn't that possible? And yes, their careers absolutely overlapped. So that could have happened. I think Bench was the youngest of those three players. So once he got to the majors, yeah, that could have happened, absolutely. Dirks Field, he says. Those things used to happen more often, either at the end of spring training or in an off day traveling. Willie Mays, absolute legend. An argument, he's the greatest player in the game. It's easy to go to Babe Ruth because he dominated as a pitcher. If Shohei Ohtani could stay healthy, maybe he could get into this argument. But Willie played center field. Hank played right. Babe played right. Center. It's another level. That's where your best defensive player goes. And like Ted Williams, he and Ted Williams, who's the greatest hitter? Both those guys served so much time in the military. Mays lost a couple of seasons. I think Ted lost like 4.5, 5 seasons. And you can project both their numbers out. Ruth could have ended up third on the home run list before Hank Aaron got to 755. Neither of those guys caught Ruth, but Mays got to 660. I mean, he was 54 homers away. You give him 2 full seasons, he absolutely could have beaten that. I was reading some stuff out of the Bay Area, and the Bay Area's had some awesome athletes. But all the stories are, he's the first. He's the first superstar. And it's hard to compare different sports, different eras, and everything changes. But what there's no debate about is that San Francisco was a minor league city, and the Giants showed up, and he was Willie Mays. And that was that. Willie Mays, 93 years old. Bees beat Reno 3-2. Same 2 teams tonight, 6:35 here on The Zone.
Hashtag RSL.
Davis with a heavy touch, loses the ball. Ada pokes it away and finds Luna. Counters on for Gomez. Gomez gets in behind, around Fontes, into the area. Shot and a goal, side panel. Nice finish. Gomez with a goal. RSL has the lead in the 14th minute, hitting on the counter. Anderson gets it caught under his feet. Anderson gets tackled. Anderson goes to ground. Gomez onto it. Gomez racing forward. Gomez chips Melia, and Gomez has his second. And RSL's up 3-1 in the 51st minute. Picked off by Chang. 2v2, looping service over the top of Chicho, and Chicho will track it down on the edge of the 18, towards the far post, and a header for Crooks. He opens his account. 84th minute, Crooks scores, Chicho the assist, and RSL is up 4-2. And still barely won. RSL last night played the game that is everything that's right about soccer from a fan's perspective, which is odd because just Saturday they played the game. Everything is wrong with soccer and entertainment value. Montreal parked the bus and they had a scoreless game. Kansas City, that thing was wide open from the start, and it was obvious. 20 minutes in, I actually said to Jay Nolly in there, it feels like it's going to take 5 goals to win this. There were so many chances for both teams. There were so many mistakes by both teams. There were so many great moments for both teams. And RSL ends up winning 4-3. They scored that goal to go up 4-2. And that it felt like it was over, right? You're into the last 10 minutes of the game. There's 6 minutes of stoppage time. And in the 95th minute, Kansas City scored. And in the 96th, they hit the post. And afterwards, Pablo Mastroeni, not in so many words, but it was clear what he meant. There were a lot of mistakes out there, which he did say. He said, RSL, that was not RSL's best game. And then he paused, he said, except for maybe attacking in transition. We were really good there, which is why they ended up with the 4 goals. And there were a lot of mistakes. He said, but it was hot and everybody melted down. It was a weird game. Even when they put the subs in, which can really change a game, it didn't. The game stayed wide open. Teams were racing from one end to the other for great chances. Gavin Beavers, the 19-year-old goalkeeper, saved a penalty from Johnny Russell, who usually scores against RSL. He had 3 great chances, didn't finish any of them in a 4-3 loss. Chicho got his 10th assist, so 16 goals and 10 assists. The double-double is really hard to do. On average, there's probably about a half dozen people in the league who do it every year. And he's already got it in June with 16 goals and 10 assists. Gomez now has 10 goals because he scored twice. And I think they ended up giving him 1 assist in that game, which if they did would be his 7th. They assign those hockey assists. It always comes in late. You never know. But good win for RSL. They're in first place. They're 3 games in front of LAFC, who played to a 1-1 draw with Austin. And they're 3 points in front of the Galaxy, who won at home. They beat New York City FC. And the Galaxy, now tied for second, are here to play first place RSL Saturday. And a quick glance at the standings, and the Galaxy know if they win on the road Saturday, they move into a tie for first place. They already met once this year. That was a 2-2 draw down in L.A. So, wild game, and RSL holds on to get the win. But, man, was that a wild, wide-open game. So, now, in this 15-game unbeaten streak, which they have, which is now the longest in club history and tied for the second longest in MLS history. Portland's had a couple of these streaks, apparently. Dallas has the record at 19. But in this streak, they've played a 3-3 draw, they have won 4-3, and they have won 5-3. They were an excellent defensive team, but they've given up 11 goals in the last 6 games. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. Justin Glad looks like he's out for a while. He's not expected to play Saturday. He won't dress. And they're missing Brian Vera, who got a yellow card and is now suspended. So they're now missing, when they broke camp, their top 4 center backs, 3 are hurt and 1 is suspended. So who knows who will be playing Friday. Some combination of Quinton and Oviedo and Hidalgo. 2 of those 3 will have to start. DJ PK.
#golf.
The PGA Tour is in Connecticut this week for the Travelers Championship. Tony Finau is in the field. And this is probably the last time we're going to see most of the big names until the British Open. You look at the schedule after this and the travel. Some guys are going to play in Europe. Some guys are going to want time off.
Well, and Rory, to your point, he's taking time off. Yeah, but he was supposed to play this week. He took the time off, obviously. He's not playing again until the Scottish Open, so he's taking a full 3 weeks.
And a lot of the guys do like to go over and play the Scottish Open. They don't want to be off. They don't want to be off right before the Open. They don't want to travel. This is a chance to go play in Europe. And there's a decent chance behind the scenes, a lot of their sponsors are pushing for this. But they don't like to talk about the money publicly. Which is why the whole Live Golf deal is so interesting, because there's so much money and it is so public. And PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan said he still harbors optimism that the deal can be struck despite a number of hurdles needing to be cleared. With complexity comes opportunity. There are a lot of different factors at play, but nobody who's having the conversation is unaware of the complexity. And everyone, I think, is embracing the fact there are obstacles and things you've got to overcome in a complex situation. We have the right people around the table for us, and they do as well. Well, let's hear what the issues are. Plane dates? It's the thing Liv has gotten right. And mostly it's just pro-Liv, anti-Liv because of the Saudi Arabia money. But the thing Liv is getting right, I think, is not the short pants, is not the music, is not playing 1 week out of every 2 or 3 and I can't figure when you're playing or not, is not the shotgun starts. I don't like any of those things. But the fact that they take the best golfers all over the world, golf is an international sport. And the PGA Tour, yeah, they have one stop in Canada and they have one stop in Mexico, and they let everybody go play in the Open Championship. But mostly they play in the U.S. week to week. And golf has to go dormant during the NFL. I mean, there's a Ryder Cup, but there's not much. They've moved their schedule around, so there's not much. It's a bunch of secondary stuff. And that's when Liv needs to go international. I know they're working on a complete merger. I don't know if they're ever going to pull that off. Maybe they need to keep 2 tours alive and players have access to both tours. You can qualify for both tours and you can play on both. So if you want to go play in New Zealand or Australia or Japan or Korea or wherever else, wherever in the Middle East or Europe, and play during the football season, I think there's money to be made. And if you want to come back and play Pebble Beach, you can have rights to play on both tours.
I don't think that's State Department's also involved in all this.
Yeah, I don't think that's what they're going to do. Well, but see, that may be what they have to do with the State Department involved, that no matter what they negotiate. On the other hand, the State Department could have a completely different set of people running the show a year from now, so maybe they won't be involved. I mean, there are just so many questions, and when they say it's complex, I totally believe them. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
The Edmonton Oilers got down 3-0. They won at home 8-1. It just felt like Florida just took the foot off the gas. Florida's better than that. They're very good defensively. They got shredded. It happens. Go home like the Celtics did and win Game 5. Uh-oh! They gave up 5 more goals. Connor McDavid said, I'm here. He scored twice. And as always, assisting, setting up goals. Man, Superman put on his cape, and Edmonton won 5-3. So now it's 3-2. Game 6 in Edmonton tonight. And by tonight, I meant tomorrow night. You're right. Tonight would have been the NBA game, right? All right. So we wait for the game Friday night. Can Edmonton force a Game 7? What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. See, we take a day off in the middle of the week, and I just lose track of everything. If I just read the words in front of me. Jay Stevens, NHL and Utah Hockey Club insider for The Zone, is going to join us at 8 o'clock, not only to talk about Game 6 and will there be a Game 7, but also the draft now. The draft is a week from tomorrow, and there will be a draft party, as there should be. Will they have ice, or will they just have like a theme? Or will they actually have ice and it'll be cold? Because the weather's supposed to heat up. We're supposed to hit like 100 this weekend. The cooler, the better.
Got to read that press release again, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were to put the ice out.
Yeah. Jake Weingarten, owner of StockRisers.com, covering college basketball and the NBA draft, will join us because the NBA draft is next Wednesday and Thursday. There will be a Wednesday draft party. No draft party Thursday for the second round of the NBA draft. You get a party Wednesday, you get a party Friday.
Hey, it starts at 2 o'clock on Thursday. Come on, let's do this.
Everybody playing hooky from work.
Weird start.
Yeah, it's not good enough to claim primetime TV coverage. It's the second round.
I know you're teasing who's coming up. I looked this up. Dirksfield did host Willie Mays and the Giants at least 2 years in 1957 and 1959.
Oh, so it was the 50s.
Yeah, so they're...
So I wonder if the Reds came through separately and if he's...
It says...
Because Bench didn't play.
They said
in
the Indians were the first team that they played. Now the Cleveland Guardians, or who they played in 57, and there was a... In the story, it says that Mays was signing autographs for people who had paid to sit in a certain section.
Nice. Ben Anderson, Utah Jazz insider for The Zone, co-host of Jake and Ben, will be here at 9:30. And we got RSL tickets to see RSL and the Houston Dynamo July 3rd, when there will be fireworks. We'll give those away in the 8 o'clock hour. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.